So the three main things that stood out as indicated were some signals. There's 13 of them, which I love the fact that I could give you a list specifically of things that I think you can sharpen because you just got a lot of ammo and room for growth here with this. So this is good stuff. Don't look at it as a negative. There's times where I thought you could have held the whistle for sure. You kind of got to slow yourself down, try to slow the play down, try to lengthen it. A lot of times we blow the whistle on contact, or we make two errors. We make two kind of errors: poor early decisions, meaning we're reactionary and we rush, or blowing the whistle when we have a closed look. So keep those two factors in your mind as kind of guidelines every time you blow the whistle, especially on drives to the hole. And you're a little quick rotating and lead. You like to run over to the end line. I prefer a speed walk, just because running, I just think, indicates that we're in a rush, which just tells me a little bit more about you. Like you're a little bit in a rush throughout the game. This is just a small micro dot, and it's just my perception. But I just think when we rush little simple things, we're going to rush the hard things.
Agree. Some of those things that you just mentioned there are things that I got to find ways to implement. People have told me about them, and I'm struggling to implement some things, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like somebody says, don't rush. Well, I need to find a way to slow myself down. I've been a player all my life, so everything I do is fast. You know what I mean?
Sure. A lot different. It's great that you're a player because it's going to give you that feel for the game, and it's going to help you anticipate where the play is going. But that's the last thing we have to do as officials is rush our decisions. We got to be slower than the game. I think that's a good line. Be slower than the play. Yep. Be slower than the contact. So it's a top switch. It's at the very top of everything that you're trying to do. Slow down. Like that's a pillar. That should be a pillar for you, and hopefully it'll trickle down into all the little things like rotating and rushing, like having a quick whistle, like popping, putting a quick signal, an extra layer of signals on top of plays that we don't need. That's where I think the trickle down effect of you just having that generalization of I need to slow everything down, from my decision making to the way I present to the way I rotate. That's what you understand, like it's a top of the filter kind of thing.
Yeah. When you initially, and maybe you didn't have this when you started officiating, but like, I started out fast, and then when you try and slow down with everything, mentally, did it feel extremely slow to you when it was actually right? Is that kind of what I should feel?
Yeah. A lot of times, even on film, we think we're slow, and then we watch the film and we're like, actually, I could have slowed down even more.
Yeah.
So it'll just start to feel right. It won't ever feel too slow because that's an easy problem to solve. Like, just be a little bit more ready. But this is a hard thing to get. This is a hard thing to sink in. It might take a year. It might take 2 years. It took me a couple of years. That was the main feedback I was getting at camps early on. You're rushing. Slow down. Slow down. I didn't know what it meant until you watch it on film. And then you actually see how fast you're moving and how much of the process that you're actually rushing through. So my quick tip for this, super slow-mo. Just keep that word in your mind, super slow-mo, super slow-mo. And the super slow-mo is going to make a fast person just slow. If you're a fast person who wants to slow down, is still going to be a little bit more on this side of the meter, right? But if you scale it to the other extreme, where super slow mo, just you're in lead just like this. I mean, you're not doing this, but mentally you're just like at ease, just at ease. You're not chasing anything. You're not going out and getting anything. You're getting what's there. You're getting what comes to you.
Yep, I gotta definitely find a way to implement that, and I see your point in that if I can get that, that's going to help a lot of things. And it starts with like you mentioned in your report, is, and or the video I think it was, is that I throw my arm up. I've long been that person that thought my arm stopped the clock, so I was always trying to time swinging my arm up with my whistle, and at the end of the day, clearly that's not the right thing to do because it looks ridiculous.
It just looks a little forceful.
Yeah.
It looks too extreme, too powerful. It's just simply a raising of the hand.
Yeah.
Dude, like just try to simplify things. Boop. This is something simple we're talking about, but obviously what's simple to one person isn't simple to everybody. There's things that I'm still trying to figure out too. So, whether you're practicing in the mirror, take a whistle. Do it 10 times. And then you can start to build a little bit of that muscle memory. So then when you're in the game, it's just not.
Yeah.
Getting animated here.
No, that's a good point, though. I often practice my preliminary signals in the mirror, but I don't always include the whole sequence of what I'm doing.
And that's the thing officials need to differentiate. There's two kinds of times we blow the whistle. On the spot, or I'm sorry, there's two times that we present, on the spot and at the table. Most officials just practice at the table. At the table, I would liken to free throws. Nobody's guarding you. Anybody can go hit free throws. What do you do in the moment? What do you do when the game's hot? That's the most telling and revealing. Yeah. So improving your table mechanics is easier than improving your on the spot signals,
Yeah, it's a very good point.
So just to run through a couple plays, 21-10, you had a foul from trail. This is that play where B1 reaches around. A1 blows by B1. B1 reaches around. It's that lazy defense. I used to play it. That was the only time I'd get a steal, right? But just a lot of times it results in incidental or marginal contact to like an arm. So did you think that this play caused a turnover?
I would say that, and this is yes, I did. And part of my basketball history has always been, as a player, I hated when that play wasn't called. So, when you become an official, when I was dribbling the ball, and still to this day, I play in tons of men's leagues, but when I would dribble on the ball, if there was any contact to my back because the guy reached around, I'm like, it's never called because you can't see the contact to the back. You can only see the contact to the arm. But I'm also learning the other side now, obviously, as an official, that, there's some things that you got to give the opportunity to play through and really determine if the contact calls the loose ball or the foul, what caused the change of possession, for lack of a better term.
So what I would say to that is you're bringing emotion from your playing days into the current play.
Mm-hmm. And I have a tendency to do that.
Yeah. And that's why I say be emotionless out there. As much as we want to kind of have an awareness of the temperature of the game and, catalog and plays and all that, just because A1 committed a hard foul in the first half, it doesn't mean we're going to go blow the whistle when it's incorrect in the second half because he was like playing aggressive defense or something. You know what I'm trying to say? So simplify it. Don't even make it that complex. It's just one play at a time. 22-18. Don't get crossed up. You call the foul. Try not to. All right. So just use the same hand when you're calling a foul. Then you're pointing to the spot. I think you did this. You raised the right hand, then you cross the body. Okay. It just looks sloppy. It looks like a traffic cop.
Yep.
It looks older than you are. It's like an older. I don't know. It's just an older look, I think. So simple fix. One hand. That's it. 23-06, quick whistle. I understand why you called this foul with the defender diving for a loose ball. We want to have a heightened sense of awareness when the plays are by people's knees. We want to be extra sensitive to that kind of contact and make sure we call a foul if anybody dives into somebody's legs or knees because it's a dangerous play. So that's the kind of play type we're talking about. But if you hold the whistle for a split second, you'll see nothing happens. It's just a play on.
Yep.
So this is in my opinion, it's a no call. Add an extra second to this play and let it go. But if you do have a whistle, I want to see you use that stay here signal. It's just a simple point to the ground. 24-24 hit to the head. I don't see a hit to the arm on this play, or it looks like more of a hit to the head. So anytime we have head contact, we should be vocalizing at the table. Hit to the head. What'd you think?
That particular play at halftime we talked about, and I owned at halftime that I probably started the game with a little bit quick of a whistle, and that was if I recall correctly, that was a made bucket. It was a good bucket, and I called a foul if I recall the play correctly. And looking back on it, I wish I would have had a more patient whistle, little slower, and let that one go, because that's what it was. It was kind of like upper body contact to the shoulder and head area. The arm didn't really hit anything. I would have let it play, counted the bucket, and gone the other way if I would have been more patient.
Patience. Let's talk about your charge. Really good call here. Just, slow down your signals. Stop the clock. Go behind the head if that's how you want to do it. And then simple point. But just slow down each signal. It should be like 1, 2, 3. Not 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I'm fast to begin with, but then when you get into the block charge play, I way overdo it just because, everybody does that a little faster usually. If they're close calls, you come out faster. But I have a tendency, like you said, to miss the stopping the clock, or just go with the hard punch or not go behind the head. It's all about slowing down. I think a lot of these, like you said, if I can learn to slow down in general, it'll get better. My mechanics will even probably improve just by having more crisp, clean mechanics, because I notice, after watching your video and my videos, that, a lot of my preliminaries, I have a tendency to like hunch over my shoulders or my arms down low, and things that I need to work on.
Yeah, and I exaggerated that travel one I did.
Yeah.
But you definitely presented a smaller version of that. What I'm saying? So like, you're tall, you're big, be big all the time. You're always standing up tall. Your posture should be like perfect. Be big. That's what I tell, big referees. You guys have an advantage. You're tall, you're big, you're large, so you can present nothing but strength. It's like a big guy when he's backing down in the post. What do they say? Don't bring the ball low, because that's when the little point guard is going to come steal it. We can use a similar analogy with big referees always presenting big and keeping your signals up. Now, all right, so when we have options on plays, doesn't happen often, but sometimes we have options, right? Block charge, 50-50. What did we just have on the other end? Okay, this is so close. I have options. Out of bounds play, but there was contact. What do I have? I can go out of bounds and keep this and go the other way. Or, I can call a foul because the foul needed to be called. So understand when plays present options. So I think on this play, we had the option of just passing on the foul and going with the out of bounds play. I think that's a better decision for the flow of the game when we can kind of call an out of bounds over a foul.
I agree 100%. Slowing it, if I would have slowed down, I probably would have done that. I probably came in so fast with the initial contact and didn't let the play develop and finish, and see that I had an option there to not present a foul and go more with an out of bounds call.
Yep, because basically what happened was you put the finish line on that play after the contact. You said, here's the finish line, play's over. So when you slow yourself down, you're going to say, okay, contact, I got it, processing, out of bounds. Okay, I like that one better, out of bounds.
So the same with throwing my arm up there. When I throw my arm up so fast, I'm already going open hand or palm so quick that I'm stuck. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, if I can just implement slowing down, I think that'll help in a lot of areas. I just got to find the way to implement that, and I've struggled with that. Now, as you know, I've been doing this 10 years, and I've been probably told that for the past 5 years, and I'm just struggling to implement it.
108, you had a great double dribble call. You know, you can fumble, dribble, and fumble, but you can't dribble, fumble, and dribble. And what happened on this play is a dribble, fumble, dribble, double dribble. So that was a good call.
Thank you.
That was a good line, though, right? Easy,
Yeah.
simple to remember. Shout out to Jeff Clark.
Yeah, I've heard that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, just don't run to rotate. Just stop running.
Yeah, I'm
Speed walk.
I'm still, I say, I'm 3-man experience on the, I'll say the high school circuit. We have around here, we have a couple men's leagues that are higher end that do 3-man.
Good.
But in high school basketball, I've probably only been doing 3-man 3 years.
Okay.
It took me a while to get there, and I'm still working on my rotations and when to rotate and just the whole process of how fast I do it, and so that will be something that I had jotted down in my notes to hit at the end here about rotation. Just that I struggle, and we could actually talk about it now if we're on that spot, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Like this game in particular that I sent to you, one team was much smaller than the other team, and it was a lot of perimeter play and a lot of outside shooting. The post play was all high post play. High post play, when the ball was swinging around the top, the high post guy was going foul line to foul line, extended, and I'm as the lead, I'm like, okay, when do I rotate on high post play that they are using, passing it in there, but 9 times out of 10, it's just coming back out. So I'm like, do I even rotate at all?
No.
Okay.
Feel for the game. Where's the play going? You were a player. You know what kind of set they're running. You know that if you wait 2 seconds, the ball's going to get reversed. So rotations have just a lot to do with feel for the play and feel for what the offense and the defense are doing. You're watching what kind of defense you're watching what the defense is running, and you're also watching how the offense is moving the ball around. So it's okay to only have one official on the strong side, even though it's preferred to have 2, but we don't want to sacrifice and speed our process up.
Yep.
In order to be on the same side. Couple small things, hold the ball like a waiter.
Yep.
Always. You just look like a serviceman to the game of basketball. I don't know what else there is to say. I still see referees holding the ball. They're hugging it at their stomach. Some are even holding it below their waist, which looks crazy. Some are holding it on their hip. It just doesn't look athletic.
And I don't know if this is proper NFHS mechanics, but I'll ask the question. Like we're taught, like, if there's a timeout and you're holding the ball, that if the ball's, like, say we're in the front court and I'm on the end line, if the ball's staying here, it's supposed to be behind your back. If you're on the sideline, it's supposed to be on the side of your body that the ball's going. That's kind of how we're taught here. I don't know if that's NFHS mechanics or not.
It's just someone's theory.
Okay.
There's no science to this.
Okay.
To holding the ball, like awaiting a team to come inbound it. It's irrelevant. It's 100%. It's 1,000,000% irrelevant to getting a play right. A lot of times, these local high school board members are such sticklers for signals and mechanics, they lose sight of the more important things in the game, like getting the play right and communicating and managing the game. A lot of these signals are secondary to those 2 main pillars. It's just about kind of cleaning up our image and our presentation. But at the end of the day, it's not going to help you get the play right. It's not going to help you provide that great explanation for the coach when the game got hot. So, like, I wouldn't listen to kind of those kind of theories, like we're supposed to do this. No, hold the ball up. It doesn't matter which hand. Doesn't matter how you're positioned. That's it.
Yep.
You were standing with your arms crossed too one time. You looked bored. Just be mindful. Perception is everything. Someone's always watching. Camera's always running. This is just me nitpicking. Had nothing to do with the game, but doesn't look good.
Yep.
30-second timeout. We don't need to do this.
Yep.
20. White 11 calls 30-second timeout. It's just like white 11 or white timeout, 30-second, and you can just hold it there for a second. Maybe 1, 2, whatever. See a lot of officials that are just shoulder tapping. So that's what I got from the game notes.
Yep.
Just scrolling through this report, it's pretty cool. I wish I would have got one of these things like 5 years ago.
No, this is a great service. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying innovating,
Yeah.
It's been an industry that's been stagnant and stuck in the past for a long time and kind of antiquated. So it's nice to bring a certain freshness and newness to it, to the education side.
And at the end of the day, there's a lot of different things you can give people feedback on, but you nailed it on my mechanics, because it really made me look at it in a different way. And I know mechanics and what you mentioned here at the beginning of this is slowing down. Those two things I think are probably the two biggest things that I really have to dial in on if I want to take the next step and go further with this. And I love doing this, so never thought when I played I'd be in this position where I'd be, but I started doing it and I loved it. So I was like, I'm going to stick with this and try and get good at it.
Yeah, that's great.
See what happens. But
listen, I admire your dedication to the craft and the fact that you wanted to do this report. With me, you don't know me. I mean, obviously you know my work, but I'm just very appreciative and grateful of it. So thank you so much, Josh. You got any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to ask one or two other things here that I jotted down. And these are kind of specific things, and they're not really easy answers. I just want to kind of see how you handle situations like this. And this has happened in numerous games where, and it could have happened with me being the person that screwed up the call too, but I'm going to give you the example where my partner offers a timeout because he's standing right next to the coach, offers a timeout, and the ball's in front of me way far away from him, and I clearly see that it's not possessed. It's loose. He thinks it's possessed. There's no real solution.
Nope.
So in this particular game, it happened. I did nothing. My partner came over to me. He came over to me when I was standing where the ball was going to be inbounded, and he said, "I think that was loose, wasn't it?" And I said, "Yeah." But I don't know what to do in that situation. He's just got to live and die with it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't be emotional about it. You were right there. You had a good look. You passed. He came from left field to call it. It's on him. Okay. Coach wants an explanation. He's got to hustle over there and give an explanation to the coach. If the coach asks you for an explanation, coach, I'm not going to speak about his calls. He obviously thought there was control, and he'll be over next possession to talk about it.
Yep. That's a good way to handle it.
We're not going to huddle up and say, after he grants a timeout, you're not going to hustle in and say, partner, I'm 100% that he did not have team control. Let's go inadvertent whistle now. I don't know. I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't even know what you do. Inadvertent whistle, then you're going to a jump ball and.
Well, only depends if Team A was still in control. If this is off a shot, then if this is off a shot and we have a loose ball, then we're going to go to the arrow. But if Team A has it, B1 deflects it, there's a scrum, timeout, Team A's got it.
Because it's still team control.
Correct.
I got you. Then the other question is along the similar lines, and it happened at the end of this game, is, with I want to say don't quote me on the time, but there was 2 seconds left in the game. The defensive team on the foul shots needs a timeout as soon as they rebound the ball. The coach comes up to the official and says, "Hey, as soon as we catch it, we want a timeout." I've had this happen to me numerous times, where they essentially call the timeout before the play even starts, you know what I mean? And in this particular case, at the end of the game, I don't even know if you noticed it, but the defense went up to grab the ball, did grab it, but before they even started to come down, the other team knocked it out of their hand. But my partner came so fast with the whistle for the timeout that the other team was livid because it all happened so quick, and you never heard a timeout called at that exact moment. You know what I mean?
When coaches put in an early request for a timeout, they're just giving you a heads up. They don't get to put in a pre-order of a timeout. They have to call it again. They have to request it again on site. So I always tell coaches, Coach, I appreciate that. I'll be listening. Please call it again, though. The only time I do that is when it's the second free throw. Coach come and whisper to you, hey, timeout if he makes this. If he makes it, no problem. Boom, timeout. But any other case, it's just a heads up.
Gotcha. This was one of those 2-second plays where, like, if my partner waits, you lose a second out of the 2 seconds, you know what I mean? Because the coach calls it, then you're whistling it, and it's like,
Yeah.
But it is what it is, you know what I mean? What else are you going to do? I just thought I'd ask in that play because just so happened before the player even started coming down with it, it was knocked out. Then we had people like, I didn't hear the timeout when he had control. And it worked out.
Yeah, basically, I'm going to approach that play, and I'm going to say, okay, coach wants a timeout if they gain control of the ball. I'll be looking and listening, but I'm still going to have to look over to him when he requests it out loud and be 100% that he called it and they have team control. Like, you still have to go through the whole process. Again, him putting a pre-order in for a timeout should not make us skip all the steps that we would normally have to do, because then you're providing an unfair advantage to that team.
So at the end of the day, likely there's at least a half second coming off that clock regardless. It's like it'd be almost near impossible to give him the timeout in the immediate catch in the air, if that makes sense, because there's some process of, okay, making sure he truly has control, making sure I hear a timeout, and then blowing your whistle to call it.
I'm not granting a timeout in the air if a player catches it in the air. You could take that one and you could go explain it. More times than not, you just lay off that. You won't get in trouble. You'll get into some stuff if you start playing timeouts in the air.
Then the only other question that I wanted to just kind of follow up with and just see if, from a mechanics standpoint, as there's many things I'm going to try and implement, whether it's slowing down, whether it's specific preliminary signals. When you were trying to improve things, were you getting that micro focused and trying to implement one thing at a time, or were you trying to do multiple at the same time? What was your process when you were trying to implement things?
I studied a lot of film. I brought a cameraman around to film me. I had like 10 different people that filmed me, from my wife to my neighbor to my coworker to my friend to my former student. So I accumulated a lot of film of myself early on, and I was just very particular about the way I looked and the way I presented. And I saw a lot of, like cringeworthy moments on film that inspired me to address these things and improve them and clean everything up. So I was trying to do as much as I could at once. I wasn't saying, all right, I'm going to focus on improving this signal today. It was kind of like, all right, here are the 5 things that I need to work on today. That's what we're going to go do. So it was watching that first film, recognizing all the errors, trying to go implement it and do some mirror work in the meantime, and practice, wherever at my house or whatever, and then going and working, and then watching the game again and watching all those new improvements, and then scratching off the list. All right, next, we like that. Next, this one we got to work on a little more. All right, let's take that into next game. So, you want to try to do as much as you can handle.
Yeah. So essentially, right now, the only film I get is during the season. I don't take people to my AAU games, to my, other games and get video, but it would definitely help, because that's my part of my problem, I think, is, by the end of the regular season, I'm dialed in on my mechanics. When I get to district play or whatever, I'm dialed in on my mechanics, but then it kind of fades over the summer. Come back and it's redialing in.
Okay. Do you work at Spooky Nook?
Yes.
They have cameras, no?
They do, but I don't know how to get the tape.
Well, so then it's there for you. You just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So you gotta, when these tournaments come in, Hoop Group, they all have film. I've been buying my film from camps for 5 years now. So, like, I would recommend, once this picks back up and summer ball and spring ball, Spooky Nook is big time for teams and tournaments. So there's a lot of cameramen in there. So you just got to do a little bit more investigative work on where to get the film, and you'll have it.
Well, they normally have, like on the big tournaments, they have, tripods at every court, just kind of sitting there unmanned, and they're being taped. And if they fall over, somebody comes by and cleans it up. So I know they have it. I never know if I have to go through Spooky Nook, or a lot of people rent Spooky Nook. Like, I think Hoop Group a lot of times rents Spooky Nook, and they manage the whole program. But I got to look into that. That's about.
You never know because you've never asked.
Yep, you're right.
So that's I hear that. I'm not saying you're making excuses, but like I hear that a lot. Oh, I have no access to film. I don't know where to get my film. In 2020, that answer doesn't work for me anymore, because everybody's filming their games now. You just got to know the right person.
Yep, you're right.
So, good stuff, man.
Very good.
This helps get me a lot better too, so I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. This one-on-one interaction really helps me, and I appreciate it. Don't be surprised if a year from now I'm getting another one done, just to see.
All right. I love it.
What you say.
You got me for life, bro.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Take care.